The Predictability Trap: Why Your Agile Team Can't Hit the Mark. Hey, David Betzold is here. You're not the only one who has felt that sinking feeling at the end of a sprint when your team has a long list of things to do. Low predictability in team delivery is the most frustrating thing I've helped businesses deal with. From big SAP rollouts to complicated cloud migrations. What does it mean to have low predictability? When teams don't keep their promises during sprints, it means the business can't trust the delivery pipeline. This issue extends beyond agile and affects the entire business. Symptom 1. Always firefighting. The team is always rushing to finish work at the last minute or dealing with bugs that weren't planned for in the last sprint. Symptom 2. Stagnant velocity. The team's velocity, the amount of work they finish, changes a lot from sprint to sprint. In one sprint, they finish 30 points, and in the next, they finish 10. It's impossible to make predictions because the average isn't stable. Symptom 3. Loss of trust. The product owner no longer trusts the team's ability to commit, and stakeholders no longer take release dates seriously. If half of the promised work is deferred to the next sprint, it is understandable why they might be hesitant. The three main reasons I found in my years of coaching teams, like when I switched Deutsche Bank's IT teams to Scrum, or oversaw the complicated Wi-Fi upgrade at Mercedes-Benz, I usually find that the problem comes from one of three places. 1. Unclear requirements and definition of done. This is the most common problem. The team can only agree to work if they know what done means. The problem is that the team brings a user story into the sprint without making clear the edge cases, accepted criteria, or dependencies. They realize halfway through that the job is 5 times bigger than they thought because they forgot to include security reviews or integration testing. The fix. I always ensure that teams have a clear and non-negotiable definition of done, DOD, that includes code review, automated testing, and documentation. If a story doesn't meet the DOD, it's not done, and that's fine. We must discuss the lessons learned during the next planning session. 2. Overcommitting and bad estimating. Teams often feel like they have to say yes to more work than they can actually do. The problem is that the team makes guesses about estimates instead of using real historical data, velocity. The product owner may not realize it, but they are pushing for 10 stories when the team usually only does 7. I call this process hope-driven development. The fix. I want planning that is based on data. As I coach teams, we set a steady pace. For example, the teams I worked with always met 95% of their commitments. This means looking at the last 3 sprints, figuring out the average speed, and using that number as the most work they can handle. Don't add more just because you think it will speed you up. 3. Hidden problems and breaks in the middle of a sprint. Agile is most effective when everyone is able to focus. Predictability disappears when external factors consistently divert team members from their tasks. The problem is that a developer is always being pulled into production support, fire drills, or the team has to wait 3 days for an outside operations team to set up the right environment. This makes hidden wait states. The fix. This phase is when the Scrum Master and Agile coach, that's me, become experts at getting rid of problems. I systematically got rid of organizational barriers and made workflows easier so that teams could stay focused. If an outside dependency keeps getting in the way of the sprint, it needs to be brought into the team or fixed at a higher level of the organization, like switching to a Spotify or DevOps model to break down those silos. How we perfectly solved it, the main solution. The answer to this problem is to teach discipline and trust. I help the team to stop seeing the sprint commitment as a wish list and to start seeing it as a real forecast. I suggested making things much more predictable and starting to use the following methods. Sticking to 2-week sprints. The team learned their pace quickly thanks to this small, steady rhythm. Using velocity as a ceiling. As the coach, I asked the team to only agree to do as much work as they knew they could do based on their average speed. Ruthless impediment removal. By openly and actively dealing with external blockers, we made sure the team could do the work they promised to do. This method turned teams that weren't doing well into ones that were doing well, which gave stakeholders the confidence they needed to plan for the long term. My advice to you: trust your data, not your gut. Your velocity chart is your most important planning tool. If you want to increase predictability, use your team's historical average velocity as a hard ceiling for what you commit to in the next sprint. Over time, as you remove impediments, that number will naturally rise, but don't force it. Do you have a fluctuating velocity chart? Are you struggling to define done? Hit that subscribe button and press the bell to get my next post on how to use metrics to prove the value of your agile